let me say that the purpose of today's press conference on behalf of the party is to substantively critique the budget, which I find people have critiqued bits and pieces of it, but overall critique of systematically is what I attempt to do humbly. So, আমি কি শুরু করব? I'll start first with the first point. I would call this one part of the proposal as a somersault. What is that? That is the question of long-term capital gains tax. Lot of been discussion. Now, we as finance ministers who have presented budgets at the state level or the center know that before the budget, late at night, the finance minister has to sign off on the tax proposal or any other major proposal. In this case, obviously, the Union Finance Minister either did not bother to read it or didn't understand what the bureaucrat may have put up. And now, once the hullabaloo started in the country, well, millions of homeowners who had bought homes 10 years ago and would like to sell now, monetize for their purpose, when that hullabaloo happened and people wrote and all of you media wrote, then there's been a somersault. Now, what did the finance minister say when she announced this particular thing of removing the indexation? She said, we have brought in simplified tax regime and ease of compliance. Now, if you're going to reverse, it means you have complicated it. So my first submission is that this is a case in point where the Union Finance Minister either didn't read it, or if she read it, that's even worse because she did not bother that millions of homeowners will be badly affected. So my first submission is this tax proposal, which has been reversed, I call it a somersault. Not, and she has said, shows courage. Now 45 amendments have been brought. So 45 times she would have shown courage. No, it's that particular one that she's talking about where there's a somersault. Very simple. You remove indexation. It means that over 10 years, whatever inflation has happened, depreciation has happened, you as a homeowner will lose in paying a much larger amount of long-term capital gains tax. Now she has reversed it, indication of either lack of details or competence or understanding. And now she is putting two options. So the onus is back on the consumer to decide which one. So my first point is this is a serious issue that the budget was not checked by her in terms of the budget proposal. She would have caught it only when people rose up and the media rose up that she reversed it. So that gives you a sense of the nature of this budget which I am critiquing today. The second point I'd like to make, there is a proposal for unemployment, apparently addressing unemployment. What is that proposal? The key proposal? 500 largest companies of India will hire as interns. How many people per year? 2 million people, 2 million young people as interns for 12 months. What I want to give you, available in the public domain, total number of the total workforce of these 500 top companies is 6.7 million. 67 lakhs total workforce estimated.
মঞ্জিরা, এই বিষয়ে বলতে গেলে একটু পিছন থেকে তোমাকে শুরু করতে হয়। দেখো, পুলিশ যেটা জানাচ্ছে যে রাত্রি
Correct.
3টের সময়
What
তাকে
is this? So the point is there are 6.7 million employees in these 500 companies, 67 lakhs, and they are going to take interns of 2 lakhs every year. So each company will have to take 4,000 interns every year. And that also it is voluntary, by the way, that's fine print. I have not heard a single company congratulating the finance minister or lending their support to this project because they just do not have the capacity to bring in 4,000 young people every year for 12 months. When they themselves are employing only 67 lakh people, 6.7 million people, you're taking 20 million, 2 million more, 20 lakh more. Absurd. So there's no capacity. That is a unanimity in the industry. Now the question is, what about the following year? This is for 12 months. But 12 months is over. There is no indication as to what will happen after 12 months. So this looks like another Agniveer. That after 12 months, even if they take, let us say, not 4,000, but 500, after 12 months, the subsidy given by the government and 10% of CSR given by the company, those young people are marooned. So what is interesting is no company has welcomed this, these 500 companies. No chamber of commerce has welcomed it. Why? Because this is a completely absurd scheme. Some bureaucrat has put it up, and Union Finance Minister, in her wisdom, put it in the budget. So I challenge this, that 4,000 intern every year for 12 months in a total workforce where 67 lakhs is the total size of the workforce. So they will be employing 2 lakh additional people, which is almost 1/3 of their total current workforce. And let's not forget, most of these 500 companies are undergoing capital intensive, technology imbued change in their own companies. So that's my second point, that this is a completely unacceptable. And interestingly, nobody seems to, a lot of people have talked about it, but this is an indication, a second indication that Union Finance Minister did not understand or was not explained that only 6.7 million workforce and you are asking them to take 2 million people every year. It's an absurd proposal. Now I come to my third point. What is the unemployment in India today? In the month of June, I'm giving you the statistics, CMI's latest data. Total unemployment is, according to CMI, those who are looking for jobs and not able to find one, 4.35 crores. 4.35 crores, that's 43 lakh people are unemployed according to CMI, who are looking for job actively but have not found one. What is the percentage of unemployment? 9.18. This is the highest unemployment in many months. If you take the period of COVID, you leave the COVID period out, phenomenal level of unemployment. So finally, the Union Finance Minister and the Prime Minister admitted there is such an unemployment. But what they brought out was really puny. It was just unbelievable. 3 schemes, which are all Provident Fund related, nothing major. This was the major scheme. And it's a non-starter, knee-jerk, absolutely unacceptable. Now I come to the next point. There is an unusual thing happening in India, which the budget does not address. Reverse migration from cities, manufacturing, services back to the villages has never happened in Indian history in recent times. As you all of you know, excess surplus workforce in agricultural sector who are disguisedly unemployed or underemployed, they move to manufacturing, they move to services in the urban sector and find a livelihood. This is the first time that there are clear indications that there is a reverse migration because there are no jobs available to them. Connected to this is that the real wage of agricultural workers, real wage, has fallen for the first time. Real wage has never fallen over decades. Why? Because people have no option but to go to the rural sector, গ্রামে চলে যাচ্ছে, সেখানে চাকরি নেই, no jobs available, excess supply, and therefore real wages have fallen for the first time. And on the same issue, it has been reported correctly so, 85% of rural youth are seeking non-farm jobs. Is there an address in the budget which gives you these figures that there is reverse migration and this is the way we want to tackle it? Is it there clarity in the budget that real wages, yes, admit that real wages have fallen in the agricultural sector, the agricultural distress? It is not there. None of this appear in the budget. And yet those are the real questions on the ground level that budget should have addressed. And I don't see a huge hue and cry on this. I've given you the exact data. 4.35 crores unemployed in June, only month of June. 9.18%. Admit that. Say and then say that these are the ways I'm going to tackle it. The only thing given is completely untenable one. Now I come to the next point. The budget does not talk, this word is not used, I've done a word check, of the informal sector or unorganized sector. How many people does the informal sector would have normally employed? 93% of the workforce is employed by the informal sector. Now, what has happened to the informal sector? Latest data shows, and this is Government of India's data. You do a little research and you'll find it. I have all the references. 1.6 crores loss of employment in the informal sector. 1.6 crores, that's 16 million people have lost their jobs in the informal sector. Shouldn't have there been some kind of indication that in the budget that informal sector, 93% employment of the workforce, we are going to do this in detail with some schemes and nothing. Even the word informal sector or unorganized sector is not mentioned in the entire budget speech. You do a word check. Not only loss of job of 1.6 crores, but it is clear from India ratings data that 6.3 million enterprises have shut down. 6.3 million, that means 63 lakh enterprises have shut down in India. So on one hand, you have job loss from the informal sector, exactly complementary to that, unfortunately, negatively complementary. 6.3 million enterprises have shut down. Where is the reverberation of this crisis in the budget? It doesn't even talk about informal sector, it doesn't even talk about unorganized sector. This is a failure of the budget. It should have upfront said that yes, informal sector jobs have been lost. Yes, 6.3 million enterprises have closed down. We are going to do X, Y, Z within a time frame, and this is the allocation. It doesn't exist. Now, actual unemployment in 2022-23, according to Government of India, actual unemployment for the year 2022-23, which I have found by studying it, is 10.96 crores for the whole year. I've given you only the June figure, that's 4.5 crores. For the full year 22-23, 10.96 crores were unemployed. So I have given you a picture of what is the challenge before a government. And none of it is addressed by the budget. Not a word. Now I come to what the government is saying. It is saying there's growing employment. In my humble view, it's a hoax. Why? If you look at that, you will find there are three categories which are included in the employment category. What are these? Self-employed individuals. There's no measure of that. Who's self-employed, who's not. So put it into employed. They are employed. Two is unpaid family work. This is the most dangerous. Unpaid family work is being called employed. This is the household, the homemaker, the one who works at home, the women who look after the household. Unpaid, obviously. They are being put into the employed. Employment means that you do a job and you get a wage for it. But unpaid family work has been put into this to show that there's greater employment. And third, temporary farm hire. This is the third category. If you look at Center for Sustainable Employment of Azim Premji University study, you will find they are shocked by these three things being put into employment to make it look as though huge employment is happening in India. Self-employed, not measurable. Unpaid family work, really a shame that that has been put into employment. And temporary farm hire, for which just a statement put into to show, to blow up. Apparently, there's great employment. This is another case where you're defrauding the people of India by putting these factors. But the budget does not address this, does not talk about it. Why? Because then people will question. Are you talking about women at home? You're calling them employed? Now, the next point. Overall consumption growth have been lowest in 2 decades, and I challenge this. Overall consumption growth has been lowest in 2 decades. Any mention in the budget? Any the stimulation, Keynesian stimulation for consumption, which we have done in Bengal? No mention. Wage stagnation. Any mention in the budget that wages are stagnating? What are we going to do about it? Here is a plan outline. None. And third, very dangerous, household savings have dropped. People are not saving. What does that mean? They're living for today, but they don't know what will happen tomorrow. You save for tomorrow, but they're not doing so. Now I come to my final point so that I can take questions. What are the factors that have not been increased in the budget, which relate to the common people? First is 100 days work. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee. It was 86,000 last year. It is still 86,000. If you factor in inflation, 86,000 crore allocation means that it has in fact gone down in real terms. Number two, Shaksham Anganwadi and Poshan. This is an umbrella ICDS program. What has happened to that? scheme for adolescent girls. That what is the scheme is. You'll be surprised to know that has been cut. So negative 1.50% reduction in that program for adolescent girls, but nobody noticed it. Third, National Social Assistance Program, very, very important. National Social Assistance Program. No increase. Just the same number repeated. Somebody's put in the number, it appears in the budget. Now I come to the next question, what is missing? LPG subsidy, food subsidy has gone down. Did you know that? Food subsidy is down by 3.45%. If you ask me, I'll give you the exact figure. Food subsidy reduced. LPG subsidy reduced by 2.64%. This is a common person's issue. Say it up front. Give a justification. Nothing. Quietly slipped in. That food subsidy and LPG subsidy both. One food subsidy down by 3.45%. LPG subsidy 2.64%. Now I come to the last point. Average monthly income has declined in 2022. It was 1,21,000. It was 121,000. 12,100 in 2012. 10 years later, out of it 8 years are the Modi period, the monthly income has declined to 10,925. From 12,100 to 10,925 for regular workers. This is the category called regular workers. And for self-employed, the monthly income has declined from 7,117 in 2012, 2 years before Mr. Modi came to office, 7,017 monthly income has declined to 6,843. Is there a mention of this in the budget? Is there addressing this issue that both regular workers as well as self-employed workers both have come down in terms of monthly income? You won't find it. I will not go further into short-term capital gains and all the technicalities. So I'll end by saying, when you want to do an employment process, look at the international best practices of how they bring employment over time. The German model, 60-40. I've been saying that for a long time. Nobody bothered to look into the long-term process of step by step. The community college model in the United States, so many models are available. Instead, what you do is, just say 2 lakh people you take as apprentices, and after 12 months, one doesn't know what will happen. So I'll conclude by saying I've given you an overall point-by-point critique of the budget. This is a budget that has no thought behind it. Plus, there is a very serious issue that Union Finance Minister is saying to the media, I've seen it in the media, that this is a matter of courage. When 45 amendments have been proposed, what I would say is it's a somersault. It's a shame. It's a shame that Union Finance Minister did not look at what was in the tax proposal in terms of long-term capital. Let me stop here and take questions if that's it. আশা করি মোটামুটি পরিষ্কার যারা আমাদের এখানকার প্রেস আছেন, and those who are from outside, I spoke in English so that it's accessible to everyone. After all, it's the union national budget. I'm ready for questions.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So
Yes.
as far as average monthly income
Yeah.
has gone down from 12,100 to 10,900.
Yes.
And from which year to which year I just missed?
Oh, it's 2012. In 2012, it was 12,100. In 2022, 10 years later, it is 10,925, and this is for regular workers.
Okay.
And then the self-employed workers also suffered the same fate. In 2012, it was 6,843, 7,017. And 10 years later, it is 6,843.
6,842.
43 in 2022. So in 10 years.
This is as per NSSO data?
This is from Government of India data. Yes, it's a complex process. I have the data.
Okay.
Thank you.
অমিত বাবু, আমি মৈত্রী নিউজ 18 বাংলা থেকে আমি বাংলাতেই জিজ্ঞেস করছি আপনাকে, এই বাজেটকে যদি এক লাইনে ব্যাখ্যা করতে হয় আপনি কি বলবেন বাজেটকে?
দেখুন, আমি আপনাদের বিস্তারিতভাবে বলেছি, আপনারা ডিসাইড করুন। আমি তো বলছি, একটা যে প্রশ্ন নিয়ে সবাই চিৎকার করছিল, লং টার্ম ক্যাপিটাল গেইনস ট্যাক্স, ওটা তো একটা ডিগবাজি অ্যান্ড মোস্ট ইরেসপন্সিবল। ইউনিয়ন ফিনান্স মিনিস্টার জানতেনই না হয়তো, আর যদি জেনে থাকেন, জেনে করেছেন, তাহলে সাধারণ মানুষকে পানিশ করেছে। এবারে আনএমপ্লয়মেন্টের সমস্ত আমি ডিটেলস দিয়েছি আপনাকে, এটাও দিয়েছি ইনফর্মাল সেক্টরের কি অবস্থা, এগ্রিকালচারাল ডিস্ট্রেসের কি অবস্থা। এক কথায় বলবো, completely failed budget to address the nation's economy and the plight of the common people. It is a budget for whom I don't know. And the single program of employment that everybody is talking about is completely a non-starter. None of the 500 companies have come out and welcomed it. Why? Because it's voluntary. What a fine print dekben voluntary. Tar mane kew korbe na. 6.7 million workforce, 2 million lok nebe tara as apprentice. So this is misleading the common people of India. This is just some bureaucrat has put it up, and they've just Union Finance Minister. What about the Prime Minister's office? People say PMO vets all this. Didn't they vet it? Didn't they vet the long-term capital gains tax? Didn't they vet this completely untenable plan for so-called employment? So আমি বলবো, এটা completely, এটা misleading the people of India. It's irresponsible, as in the first case, and not going to the heart of the matter, which is unemployment. The people who are in the unorganized sector, agricultural distress. Instead, কমিয়ে দেয় 100 দিনের কাজ, 86,000 crores, 86,000 crores, এক পয়সা বাড়লো। এদিকে agricultural distress, when farmers have huge loans. আপনারা এই সূত্রগুলো ধরে আপনারা একটা তৈরি করুন। আমি তো আপনাকে বলে দিয়েছি, একদিকে সামারসল্ট, অন্যদিকে ইরেসপন্সিবল। বলা উচিত ছিল কে বাক্স।
You're trying to, accumulate the employment by central government. এবং আমাদের স্টেটের ক্ষেত্রে আমরা যদি আমাদের স্টেটের সঙ্গে তুলনা করি, তা ওদের কোয়ালিটি জবস, ওদের কোয়ালিটি এমপ্লয়মেন্ট অ্যান্ড আমাদের কোয়ালিটি এমপ্লয়মেন্ট, আপনি এটাকে কিভাবে ব্যাখ্যা করবেন?
দেখুন, আমাদের স্টেটে এমপ্লয়মেন্ট লেভেল অ্যাকর্ডিং টু সিএমআই ইজ 3% লোয়ার দেন দ্য ন্যাশনাল। আমরা কি করেছি, আমাদের নেতৃত্বে আমরা কেনজিয়ান স্টিমুলেশন ফলো করেছি। তার মানেটা কি? তার মানে we put money in the hands of the people, which then translates into excess demand. যে excess demand হয় সঙ্গে সঙ্গে from all levels of industry, then they start considering increasing their plant machinery, etc., etc. সেহেতু পশ্চিমবঙ্গে আমরা কেনজিয়ান স্টিমুলেশন মডেল ফলো করেছি। তারা কি করছেন? তারা কর্পোরেট ট্যাক্স কেটেছে। দ্যাটস আ রোনাল্ড রেগান মডেল। কেন করেছিলেন? এই ভেবে, এটা ভুল তাদের, দ্যাট শোজ দ্য পসিটি অফ থিঙ্কিং। তারা ভেবেছিলেন যে ট্যাক্সটা কাটলে ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালিস্টরা সেই পয়সাটা ইনভেস্ট করবে, তার মানে প্লান্ট মেশিনারি ইকুইপমেন্টের ক্যাপাসিটি বাড়াবে। এটা তারা চিন্তা করলেন যে তারা করবে না, তার কারণ এক্সেস ডিমান্ড নেই। এক্সিস্টিং প্লান্ট মেশিনারি ইকুইপমেন্ট কেন তারা বাড়াবে যখন এক্সেস ডিমান্ড নেই? সো দে ফলোড দ্য সাপ্লাই সাইড মডেল। দ্যাটস আ রোনাল্ড রেগান মডেল। আজকে আপনাকে সেই জন্য ভুগতে হচ্ছে। এবং অফকোর্স ডিমনিটাইজেশনের রিভেলারেশন।
হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে, এটার পরে আর গেট নেই।
সরি
স্যার, আমি আমার দিক থেকে কিছু বলিনি, অন্য কোনো সোর্স থেকে এটা ঢুকেছে।
আর কোনো প্রশ্ন আছে? নাহলে আমি
ডক্টর অমিত সম্বিত বলছিলেন।
হ্যাঁ, সম্বিত বলুন।
বলছি যে ইফ ইউ ওয়্যার অন দ্য শুজ অফ নির্মলা সীতারামন, হোয়াট উড ইউ হ্যাভ ডান?
Look, that's a hypothetical question. I am not in her shoes, but I have given you an outline of where the fault lines of the economy are, none of which have been addressed. I would have followed and what Mamata Banerjee government has followed, which is Keynesian stimulation. Whole world is doing that. We are the only exception. United States, Germany, Japan, Italy, Spain, যেখানে দেখবেন, they have stimulated demand first, expecting a response from the supply side, right? That would have been the standard process in these situations, post-COVID, post the hierarchy of demonetization. So instead of doing that, they have gone into supply side by cutting corporate taxes hugely. It's very strange that the aggregate taxes taken from income tax is higher than the corporate tax today, collected by the government. Now, also I find that today's media studies show that profitability has also gone down. Earlier profitability was up because the corporate tax cut, they had to show in their books as profit. Now it appears their profitability has gone down. So what we would have done is followed the standard macroeconomic model. There's no one there who understands macroeconomics, obviously. Otherwise, this is simple. This is macroeconomics 101, which the whole world is doing. The only government that did not do it went and cut corporate taxes. And corporates, poor guys, what can they do? If you cut the taxes, they'll take it. And they have to put it in their books. So they're very high profits earlier. Now even that has come into question, according to today's newspaper. So I would have followed the standard macroeconomic model, specifying. Now I would have also, not me, but Mamata Banerjee would have followed, which we have done here, looking at the common people. What can we do about the informal sector? 1.6 crore jobs lost in the informal sector. We would have looked at the agrarian distress today. Farmers' movement came from there. Real wages in agriculture has fallen. We would have looked at that to see how do we do that? What are the models for that? An employment intensive process, which West Bengal has done. So that is why our employment percentage of unemployment is 3% lower than the government of India, according to CMI. So that's what I would have done. That's what Mamata Banerjee has done and shown it is possible to do.
Thank you.
Sir, this is Girish Pratap from Mint. Can I ask a question, sir?
Of course.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it's a follow-up to what you have said. As you said, central government has been focusing on supply side measures. But the government's argument is that, if we give a short-term stimulus, it can fizzle out, because during the global financial crisis period, government gave, short-term stimulus like custom excise duty reduction, etc. And we ended up with excess capacity and also bad loans, the twin balance sheet problem, etc. So if the government has to do any consumption stimulus, it will be like a U-turn now. I would like to know your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, you see, what you have indicated about 2-3 items which they have, they find that would have been not the right path is not what I'm talking. I'm talking about Keynesian stimulation.
Right, sir.
Now you're going into infrastructure. How long does it take for infrastructure in order for that to, of course, to fructify over time? It's a huge amount of lag, during which time you have lowest real wages in the agriculture sector. People are in serious distress. So point is very simple. You walk on 2 feet. You don't walk on 1 foot. The Keynesian stimulation model is a sequential model where you first provide demand stimulation. That can be done by putting money into the hands of the people. With it, you start doing, for example, in West Bengal, we have increased our capital expenditure by 20 times since we came to office. People don't say that. On the other hand, we have parallelly increased the social expenditure. Today, Lokhi Bhandar is a case in point in the world. Konyashri got the highest award in the United Nations. So we are walking on both feet. Largest amount of work in the rural rural roads, which is stimulatory, but stimulatory to the people. And the minute you open up rural roads, you have new markets. I know in my constituency when I did that, immediately markets came up because the choto hati, as they call it, the small carrying vehicle would not have reached there before because there wasn't a proper. So look at the people centricity, stimulate the economy so that people come up with excess demand. And then, of course, the industry responds. What you pointed out are 2-3 small things, but I am giving you the bigger picture of that is not in the consideration. No admission of unemployment numbers. Only some program which I have just critiqued for you. Please tell me, 4,000 interns they're going to take per company. 4,000. Is this feasible? Who has proposed this? Somebody has to be cognizable for this. That has been overlooked and we didn't understand. Did you hear? You're from Mint, so you're connected to corporates in terms of your years. Did you hear any corporate of the 500 saying this is a great program? No.
Right.
In fact, I heard the Ernst & Young chairman in a seminar, public seminar, that's why I can say. He himself said that 4,000 people capacity ke sawal hi nahi hai. There's no question.
Yes.
Now I've given you the data, 6.7 million, out of which 2 million have to be. Do the German model. Think about it. Think about other models. There's not one model. There are 10 models available for vocational training, which gives you a flow of sustainable income. I don't know whether you're aware, in the German model, when you 60-40, when that person in ITI equivalent institution goes and works, 60% of the shop floor, there is a certified trainer.
Yes, sir.
So where is that thinking? Where is that innovative thinking? Doesn't exist.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Mitra, Premanshu, this side from ABP. Just one question that how do you see the aspect of federalism in the budget, like in terms of helping the states and giving untied loans and helping for infrastructure and pending dues? How do you see that?
I think that these are, as far as federalism is concerned, you jolly well know, আপনাকে আমায় বলতে হবে না, that obviously political process drove the allocations in two directions. You know what those directions are. So today West Bengal is still sitting with huge unpaid amounts of money from the center, none of which was even considered, and same for several other states. So you do politics with the budget in order to let the government survive, then you'll get this. Where is federalism? Federalism is where you equitably work with the states, where you do consultations with the states. At one time in the Planning Commission, that consultation used to happen, not just consultation, but Planning Commission had the teeth to deal with each of those departments. Today, there's no federalist institution in the country, which is legitimate, formal, apex federal institution. So therefore, this budget is nothing but allocating to two states much larger sum than other states. Now, they would have also given a special status perhaps, but the Finance Commission doesn't allow that, as you know. So my point is very simple. Where is federalism? Federalism is dead. This is the politics of budget. Otherwise, it would have been equitable. Otherwise, it would have gone into each state, looked at what they can do. And the only thing I saw is that some capital expenditure loan that they had given, maaf kar diya, why? They had given it for 50 years. Now, what would be the size of that loan in 50 years in terms of depreciation? It would have become zero anyway. But nobody is writing about it. Now you say, maaf kar diya, are bhai. States ko capital expenditure diya tha, chhod diya. Are 50 years ke loan diya aapne in the last budget. 50 years means you're depreciated to zero anyway. So you're taking credit for something which is absurd to any economist.